Well, good morning, everyone. That was one heck of an intro. I wasn't sure who she was talking about after a while. So I want to talk to you a little bit today about, so as we were talking about storytelling, and my job now is in social media. And so I want to talk about storytelling in social media. And because I live on the internet, you're going to be talked to with a lot of memes. So the first thing I want to talk about is a little bit about how I got here and where I'm at now, but where I started. So proudly from Holland, Michigan. I know, Holland High's out in the building, but I rep that all day, every day. I ended up going to Grand Valley, went there for 4 years, majored in broadcast journalism, and at the time, I had so much fun, and I still think experience was some of the best 4 years of my life. Miranda talked a little bit about my time at Wood TV, and I think one thing I want to implore you all today is as you're in your younger years, you're growing up and you're gaining these experiences, I think what you should know is it's really important to just gain as much experience as possible in whatever you're doing and understand that whatever you're doing, it's gonna help propel you forward. And that was my entire time with TV, from an intern to a videographer to an editor to a producer. All those things helped get me where I'm at now. And so I moved to Los Angeles in January of 2018, and when I did that, I didn't necessarily have a job just yet, but I knew that we could make something work. And that has led me to working at different agencies, working on different red carpets, working on different movie premieres, and it was all the experiences I had that allowed me to get to LA and kind of really get rolling and use that experience. I've recently left my job at Nickelodeon after a strong 5-year tenure, and my day-to-day there was working on the SpongeBob Instagram and TikTok account. And so the joke I make often is that I spent every day thinking about SpongeBob. We got some SpongeBob fans in the house? Okay. There's so many things coming your way, so I'm glad to hear it. And now I'm working at Masterclass, which a little more adult-oriented, but have you seen the ads for it on social media? Okay, good. We're all on the same page. And so that's where I'm at now, and now I'm here talking to you. So part of all of this, though, is I like to say I have a bachelor's in broadcast journalism. You know what? Hold on. Let me get back to this. I have a bachelor's in broadcast journalism, but I like to also say, and I think every adult in the room can relate when I say we have PhDs in figuring it out. And regardless of whatever you study or what your interests are, you all will be gaining PhDs in figuring it out. Part of that timeline I showed you on the last slide was me figuring it all out. Because at the time, I didn't have the context to know this is where I want to be or what I want to do. I was just taking one step after the next step. And in 2017, I palpably remember being at dinner with my parents, and they were like, "Hey, so how's work going?" And my response was, "I think I'm going to move to LA." And that was me looking out the window, because I felt at that time that's what my calling was. And I want to implore all of you to also understand that, wherever you're at and whatever age it is, just be mindful of what is inspiring you, what you're enjoying, and just be mindful of that. I feel like now we can be in such a place of wanting to go, and being in a hurry. And just trust the process, and that something will internally drive you to make a choice, to make a decision, to drive you to study what you want to study. And that's where this was at. So part of figuring it out is how I learned about storytelling. And when I work in social media, and any filmmaker, any marketer, any videographer, they'll tell you, you're telling a story through mediums. And what I want to talk to you a little bit about today is the foundations of storytelling, which are these questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how. And if you look at any Instagram post, any TikTok, any commercial, any movie, these questions are thoroughly answered, right? And so it's basically, who are you talking to? What are you trying to say? Where are you driving people to? When is it happening? Why are you trying to tell the story? And how is it going to happen? So if you think about your last Instagram post or your last TikTok post, you posted it for somebody. You wanted someone to see it. It's the same in movies when a director's making a movie. It's the same in commercials when we're making ads. We want someone to see it. But then we also want a message that you take away from, right? So again, if you scroll in Instagram, you can look at a post and identify who are they talking to, what are they saying, where is this happening, when is it happening, and why and how will it happen? And you can take that away from everything. If you're looking on TikTok and you're looking at someone's outfit of the day, they're talking to people who are fans of clothing, fans of fashion. What are they talking about? They're talking about their outfits, right? Where's that happening? They're talking about where they're getting all their outfits from. And these are questions that you can start thinking about yourself when it comes to storytelling, because these questions will always come about. And so I want to do this little mini case study here where I pulled a few Instagram posts, and I want to just like dissect a little bit about those storytelling elements, right? So I pulled examples from Duolingo, from SpongeBob, Netflix, and McDonald's. Are we familiar with Duolingo? Okay, do we follow Duolingo? Okay, we got a few. So here's the fun part about Duolingo. And again, I work in marketing, I work in creative storytelling. And so what Duolingo does, it's at its core, it's an app about language learning, right? You can download Duolingo, you can learn how to speak Spanish, or you can learn how to speak Japanese. But Duolingo's Instagram is completely different. All they do is use that owl to make content that you will relate to, right? And so you're thinking, what's the connection between this owl and the connection between language learning? To them, their story is, by coming up with the most unhinged content using this owl, you now know about the app. Regardless of what the app is used for, you now know about it, right? So who are they talking to? Literally anybody who can appreciate unhinged content, right? And so here you have the owl sitting in a puddle, and it says, when you ignore my notifications. That's how I feel when someone doesn't react to the IG DMs I send, right? That's how I react when no one finds the TikToks I send funny. And clearly, if you look at the amount of likes, 6.7 million people feel the same way, right? So I think we can all feel that moment when we're like, oh, okay, this is relatable. I understand who they're talking to. What are they saying? They're saying, this is how I feel. I'm hoping this is how you feel too. How are they telling that story? They're putting the owl in a puddle because, when you're sitting in a puddle and you're feeling down, that's exactly how you're, being felt. This SpongeBob post, I have to say, is one of my most proudest pieces I put together, because this was for the Super Bowl. Were we aware of the Super Bowl being in Bikini Bottom this past year? Okay, thank you. And so what we want to do with that piece, the story we wanted to tell was the Kansas City Chiefs are playing the San Francisco 49ers, and it's going to be on Nickelodeon with SpongeBob and Patrick doing the color commentary, right? So what did we do? We made this meme of Chiefs players and 49ers players all sitting in the Krusty Krab. And so who am I talking to? I'm talking to 49ers fans by putting Niners players in it. I'm talking to Chiefs fans by putting Chiefs players in it. Then I'm talking to SpongeBob fans because in that image is scattered a bunch of SpongeBob Easter eggs. Can you spot a few of them? I know it's a little bit small. Yeah, so we got Handsome Squidward up there. We got the Sunday from the movie. We have Pretty Patties on the table in the bottom right. We have the TV with the Super Bowl logo. We have the Sea Bear. We have the Glove World on the table with the wide receivers because they catch. So these are all these little Easter eggs that spoke to SpongeBob fans to recognize what we were talking about, because the average SpongeBob fan probably is not talking about football. Same with the average football fan is not talking about SpongeBob. So can you converge those worlds? And that's how we accomplish the who, what, where, when, why, and how. And then just going through, like Netflix, they use this post to talk about Wednesday season 2 coming out. And all they did was have her just sit there and stare at the camera. But if you're a fan of Wednesday and you're a fan of Jenna Ortega, you'll understand that's her vibe. Just sitting there, being still, and that's how you communicate. That's how they chose to communicate. So who, what, where, when, why. Again, like you can see that in every single post. And I implore you to do that yourself when it comes to your posts and your friends' posts and as you start to grow your page. Because yes, social media is about, there is that element of influencers and follower growth and brand deals and the vanity that comes with it. But what allows an influencer to become who they are, what allows a brand to want to work with you, to make sure like you get those brand deals, which is not what I'm recommending, but it is, they do great storytelling by answering those same foundational questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how. And then this last example I want to show is McDonald's with Kai Cenat, because they had the big undertaking of communicating the chicken Big Mac, right? So how do you do that without just posting a commercial? Because if you see a commercial on your Instagram, on your For You page, you're like, okay, this is an ad, it's a sponsored post, I'm good. So how do you communicate something that you're selling without it being an ad, right? Think about the who, think about the what, the where, the why. They got Kai Cenat to do it because what you're looking at is McDonald's 5 million Instagram followers, but then you have Kai Cenat's like 300 million Twitch followers, right? Now you have the audience you're talking to. And when you do that, his energy is just, I'm gonna geek out about everything. So it's natural for him to wanna geek out about this chicken Big Mac, right? And so now we have this organic storytelling with those questions. So now when you see it, you're not feeling like you're being spoken to or being sold on something. Y'all got me? Who, what, where, and why, and how? Are we feeling good? So again, even on your page, think about like I posted, an Instagram carousel the other day, and I was like, oh, I hope X person sees this. I hope this person sees this. And again, these are the questions that I come up with in my mind all the time. So as you have your fun on Instagram and TikTok, just know like that is a job that's waiting for you. Those are skills that's waiting for you because you're doing content creation, you're doing storytelling. Just be mindful about that along the way. And the one thing I want to talk about also that goes into storytelling that has helped me a ton is scarcity versus abundance. Have we heard of this thinking before? Okay. So I don't want to preach, but I will say this mindset has helped me grow a ton in my career and has helped me think a lot more clearly when it comes to storytelling and just in our day-to-day, because in a nutshell, scarcity versus abundance means thinking there's not enough of something and not enough for you, and even you thinking you're not enough for yourself, right? So when it comes to scarcity versus abundance, these are the main examples I'm talking about, right? So when you're people-pleasing, you're operating out of fear, when you're talking negatively about yourself, you're thinking there's not enough of whatever you want to go around. When someone else is succeeding, it's natural to think, oh my gosh, that person just got that t-shirt, or that person has this many followers. Then you start to think like, why them and not me, right? But what I've learned in my now 32 years of life is that there's always going to be enough for everybody because it starts with you knowing you're enough for you, right? So when you start thinking abundantly, you're thinking at a different pace. You're being more calmer, you're being more present, you're standing where your feet are, right? And I know like when we're on phones, because again, I live on the internet as well. I'm a victim of just needing stimulus and like pulling out my phone even when the waiter's standing in front of me, but hasn't gotten to me yet. Like, you can be in that moment, and if you're thinking abundantly, now you're being curious, you are preaching positive affirmations for yourself, you're learning to let go. Oh, if that person didn't follow me, that's cool, right? Because there's gonna be more people in the future. Oh, if this post didn't do well, that's fine, because you could post another thing right now. There's a limited possibilities when you start thinking abundantly versus when you think things scarce. And I remember being in college and in high school when I was like, oh man, this person has this internship, or this person is like in this class, or this person got this grade, and that comes from a place of thinking there's not enough for you. And then it starts trickling down and thinking you're not enough. And again, when I'm talking about this mindset and thinking about this slide and how it relates to storytelling is simply when you can get to this part, right? And that's when you're just being mindful, where you can sit here, you can drop your shoulders and like remember, okay, I'm in this theater, I'm listening to this person talk, and when you can like lock in into where you're at and be where your feet are, now the world is looking abundantly for you. Everything's possible. So even when you're thinking about the insecurities you're facing, or what you want to do, or what you want to study, where you're going to go to school, am I going to keep going to school? Do I want to do movies? Do I want to do TV? Just know like the next step is always going to be the right step, because when you're so young, all you want to do is collect these experiences to learn what you're going to do next. And there's no right answer, because again, every adult in this room and everyone at your school, including you, has a PhD in figuring it out, right? Some of us have just been doing it longer. This is very simple, and it's in black and white for that reason. There's no design to it. Just be nice to people, because that is a soft skill, that is a hard skill. There is no distinguishing factor, right? Because if you're, again, like I worked with Miranda so many years ago, and we still are such good friends, and this connected me to the people at Mosaic, and so to be able to speak to you up here is a result of, one, the journey timeline I shared, but also it's the soft skill and the hard skill of just being nice to people. And that's it.